So your cat is home from the vet. The crisis should be over, but they are still not eating properly, they are still not quite themselves, and you have got a counter full of meds and zero clarity on what happens next. This video will show you exactly how to set up your home, your routine, and your mindset so that you can support your cat's recovery calmly, confidently, and without chaos. There are lots of resources suggested and sprinkled in this video, so make sure you watch till the end. I am Dr. Paola Zanibelli Davis, feline holistic care and behavior specialist, here to help you take control of your cat's wellness naturally so that you can both live happier, healthier, longer lives together. Because not having alternative options should not be an option. Let's talk about that in between moment. So, not the emergency, not the vet exam room, but the real world when you bring your cat home and they're still not really okay. This is the phase where a lot of cat parents sort of freeze because vet care may be over, but recovery hasn't quite begun. So I want to walk you through three things, three areas of hands-on cat parenting that make a real difference in the days and weeks after a health crisis. But before we dive into the practical stuff, I want to share a little story that might make you understand why, when it comes to things I care about, like my fur baby's wellness, for example, I am like a dog with a bone and I am just very much my own person, and I'm very stubborn when I want to find a solution to a problem, which is how I happen to be here doing what I do because I care about cats' wellness a whole lot. So many years ago, about 3 decades ago, I was a university student in Milan. One day we had a very special lecture scheduled, and I was really determined to go because this wasn't your average lecture. It was very special. This was a lecture that would inspire me to choose the topic of my dissertation. So, which was actually research looking into just how much psychological benefit humans could gain by having a pet in their lives, which was the closest thing to studying pets that I could bring to a psychology department at the time. Of course, I had to be there, and I lived though about 25 kilometers away from the university, and I commuted 2 hours every day to go to uni, and again the same coming back home. So obviously I wasn't going to miss this one, but of course, as luck would have it, that morning Milan was hit with snow, sleet, rain, and it was an absolute mess. So you heard about traffic in Italy, and this was multiplied 10 times basically. So the trains went on strike, the buses were unreliable, and it was an absolute total transport mayhem. And now, any reasonable person might have said, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be, so I'll just stay home. But me, no, I thought, well, why do I have to miss this just because I live out of the city and someone decided that it was the perfect day for a global strike? So I looked around, I grabbed my rollerblades, yes, the kind with the teeny tiny wheels and completely unsuitable for cobblestones, which Milan is absolutely full of. And I threw my backpack over my shoulders, which was full of textbooks and obviously a change of footwear, and it was actually really heavy, of course. So I zipped up my rain jacket, I got my hat, I got on the only train available, which was not exactly going where I needed to go, but close enough. And then I skated the last about 5 or 6 kilometers through the city, which is a long distance when you do it on cobblestones, on rollerblades, through the rain and the freezing cold. So between the cobblestones and the sidewalks, in the pouring rain, in the freezing cold, with no paddles on the ground, you can just imagine. And obviously there was crazy Italian traffic everywhere. So I must have looked absolutely ridiculous by the time I got there. I was definitely drenched. I was cold, and I had to carry those skates in my hands all day, which was not fun. But I made it to the lecture, and it's something that I still remember today because it showed me what I was made of. So no wonder years later, when I heard the words, there is nothing we can do, when one of my cats was sick, my immediate reaction was, okay, well, I'm sure there is nothing you can do, but I am also sure that there is going to be something that I can do. So I got to work to find what I could do in that particular occasion. So, and I was relentless, and I didn't let go until I found a solution to my problem. So that story might not seem relevant to cat care at first, but actually it is, because the same great, this I will find a way spirit is exactly what I want you to bring to your cat's recovery. So vet care is definitely helpful, but healing the real healing starts at home, and that's where you get to shine. So let's get practical. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the right environment. So, first, you need a space that supports healing for your cat, but also for you, because these are generally traumatic experiences. And when your cat is still maybe wobbly or weak or dealing with symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, or low energy, having them roam freely around the house is not really ideal, especially if you need to leave the house for a few hours. I hear a lot of cat parents, a lot of my clients getting really stressed about these things and being really worried that while they are away, their cats are going to get into trouble, not in the naughty way, in the naughty sense of the way, but more in the way that they're not feeling well completely and they're not quite sure if they can leave them alone. So they get really worried and stressed about these things. So here is what I recommend. If you get yourself a large crate or a pen, ideally there should be space for a number of things in this crate. So it has to be big enough to be like a mini apartment for your cat, and like a really nice recovery space for your cat. So you want to have this crate has to be large, fairly large. So you want to have in there a clean litter box, preferably with low sides, so that if your cat is feeling a little bit weak, it still can walk into this litter box. Obviously, try to use natural sand, which is the best way to fill the litter box, in my experience. And so, natural litter, clumping litter, that would be my favorite choice. There are some litters made of wheat and made of natural ingredients. So these are things that if a cat ends up eating them for any reason or sitting in them, they don't have nasty toxic substances inside, and it is the safest option, especially at this time. There should be a soft bed or some washable towels, and definitely a water bowl and a food dish. And then apart from the crate, you want to get some puppy pads or nappies, because puppy pads and nappies are very useful. Actually, they're sort of lifesavers for messes, especially if your cat is struggling with GI issues or accidents. And another thing that you can get for yourself in advance is a recovery suit, or maybe a couple of recovery suits, because if your cat is not well, you might need to change them and wash them. And while one is washing and getting dry, the other one can be used. So a couple of recovery suits is always the best option here. And especially if your cat has wounds, or if you are avoiding a cone situation, or maybe if you're using the nappies that I mentioned just before. These are things that keep those nappies in place very nicely, and they are not very bothering for cats generally. So this is a good way to protect your cat without stressing them out too much. And another thing you want to get is a pet safe hot water bottle, or maybe a microwavable heat pad that can be so comforting at these times. And if you can get this, also a red light therapy mat. This is a wonderful thing to have if you can. It's a gentle red light therapy that can support circulation, reduce inflammation and pain, and it can promote tissue repair and speed up healing at the cellular level. So these are a great addition, either the pad or the light. The pad has the advantage that you can have your cat lay on the pad and soak up that healing energy, where the light, the handheld device, you have to hold it near your cat and maybe point it in different places. So a mat gets in the least amount of time possible, it gets the maximum benefit. But both things are really useful and really beneficial. So as I was saying, these are a really great addition to your recovery space that you are setting up. And most cats actually love the warmth and the calm that they offer. So just to be precise, a couple of short sessions a day, about 50 minutes each, can make a huge difference already in how your cat feels and heals. So if you want to get actually a fabulous device by a company that is serious about pet health, I recommend you go to photonichealth.com and use the code Paola Zanibelli Davis for $25 off your purchase. Now, why creating an environment that is good for healing matters so much? Because it allows you to observe your cat's behavior, keep their area clean, and reduce overstimulation from other pets or kids or any other visitors. And it's a space of safety and calm that really sets the tone for recovery. And also, it allows you, as we said before, to have some peace of mind if you need to leave the house for a while at this time. Now, the second thing I would like to mention here and talk about is a supportive routine, including feeding. So we know that recovery needs rhythm, and this means feeding, medicating, resting. These things should happen in a predictable and gentle flow. And let's be honest, some cats will not want to eat at this stage. Unfortunately, some cats will not feel good enough to eat on their own. So here is what can help you. If your cat eats willingly still, but just in small amounts, then feed small and frequent meals, use gentle encouragement, warm the food up, keep distractions low, use strategic toppers, and use a timer to remind you to go to your cat with food offerings every 30 minutes or every hour, so that you get any opportunity that you can to get them to eat something. And if they don't eat willingly, though, you may need to syringe feed them for a while, and that's okay as long as you do it with intention and technique and not as a last minute panic. Then, yes, you can just get prepared, get the right size feeding syringes, get some jars, get some blendable high quality food before your cat needs it. And you can also offer food with your fingers, but if done right, a feeding syringe is usually more practical and effective. Now, I do have a resource for you down in the description below. So if you want to grab my checklist for syringe feeding, this will help you get on the way of doing this with the proper technique and with the proper equipment and the proper mindset, because that's also very important to the success of this operation. So I do go deep into this inside also my upcoming course, which is called Peel Your Cat Academy, where I teach cat parents how to medicate, supplement, and feed their cats without turning every dose into a battle. So there is a link below to join the priority list or catch the final version of this if we have already gone live. So check out the resources below because there is a lot for you there. The more routine you can build into the day in terms of feeding, meds, check-ins with your cat, and the calmer you will feel and the more stable your cat's recovery will be. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button to follow along for more videos on proactive cat care, and thank you for being here. So the third thing that I would like to mention in this video is the third thing that you need at this time to get on top of this difficult moment is a toolkit and a plan. So what I'm talking about here is building your at-home toolkit that is coherent with your particular condition and situation. So you don't need a veterinary hospital in your kitchen, but a few items really go a long way. For example, a thermometer to check fever, or a baby scale or a pet scale to track weight, especially if your cat is not eating well, some supplements that are appropriate for the condition that you're dealing with, some anti-inflammatories. There are supplements that are really good lowering inflammation, and they're completely natural, and they don't pose a burden to the kidneys because they are not metabolized by kidneys and liver as much as nasty drugs like NSAIDs that are often given when a cat needs anti-inflammatories. So getting these supplements in your cupboard beforehand will allow you to put things in place when you need them at a moment's notice, really, without stress. And for example, there are some things that are helpful for digestive support or hydration tools and other things, depending on the condition that you are dealing with. Having some supplements that are good for that condition in advance will be a massive help. So keep a little stock of these things ready to go so that you don't have to scramble and order things at the last minute and then you are stressing while they are still coming to you. Sometimes it takes days to get these things when you order them online. So if you get them in advance, this will definitely help you lower the stress. Now, another thing that I would like you to have is a little emergency kit, including basic drugs. So in this case, we're talking about drugs, and obviously drugs that you're likely to need if you're facing a flare-up of something that has happened before. You sort of know what has helped you before, and sometimes drugs are necessary. So for example, when a cat comes down with pancreatitis, having some pain meds and some antiemetics, which is anti-vomit medications, or some appetite stimulants, anti-nausea medications, these are things that are very helpful to have on hand when a cat is prone to pancreatitis. Obviously, in the meantime, you should be looking at why this is happening, and maybe you should work on addressing the cause, the root cause of this if you can. But at least having these drugs will help you if a flare-up occurs to sort of immediately take care of symptoms that are otherwise going to escalate and maybe bring your cat into a worse state and situation. So obviously check with your vet when it comes to drugs for correct dosages depending on your circumstances in particular situation and your cat particular condition. But what I'm saying is that keeping a few items for contingencies like like flare-ups is very useful as well. So another thing that you should have on hand is a notebook or a tracking app to log clinical signs and symptoms, meals, litter box activity, and meds or supplements used, and things like this. So I do have a holistic cat planner, and I will link that down below, that can help you keeping track of all the supplements you're using and things that you're doing with your cats and things that you're observing. So that is another resource that you can use for these kind of situations. But yes, this gives you data, and data gives you confidence. And for example, if you need some affordable professional support inside the Holistic Cat Club, I help you tailor these toolkits based on your cat's actual condition. So you're not stuck with a pile of maybe products and zero clarity. If you do have doubts on what to use exactly with your cat, the right choice is to join the Holistic Cat Club, and I will advise you on specifically on your situation. And it's a very affordable solution for you to have to get on top of these things with professional advice on your specific situations. Now, remember that you don't need to do this perfectly. Recovery isn't a test that you have to ace. All you have to do is showing up with a can-do attitude, creating stability, learning just enough to respond effectively to what your cat needs today, and then step by step you can move forward and build from there. So if you'd like some help to learn how to supplement, medicate, and support your cat like a pro, join the Peel Your Cat Academy priority list today. As I said before, the link is in the description below this video, and I will link also it is either the link to the priority list or the link to the final version of this if we have run it already, if you watch this video after this has gone live. So if you need some tailored support, as I mentioned before, at an affordable rate, you can apply to join the Holistic Cat Club. And again, the link for this is also down below in the description. And I've also included, as I mentioned before, in the description below, a link for my syringe feeding checklist, which is a resource you can download to help your cat if they are not eating well. And remember, obviously, this is not for cats who are not eating due to having ingested a foreign object, for example. So this is something that you, if you suspect something like this, you have to urgently visit the vet and get some tests done to rule out this possibility for sure. However, yes, if your cat is not eating well because they are feeling a little ill and they're not up for eating, but otherwise they are empty, then yes, this checklist down below can really help you get started with this. So finally, you have a link to your discount for Photonic Health products in the description of this video as well. And okay, so there are lots of goodies in the description below, as I mentioned through the video. So go get what you need. And remember, with the right setup, rhythm, and mindset, you can absolutely help your cat recover at home confidently and effectively. And on this note, I will see you next time. And until then, love your cats as much as you can.